Okay, now we're going to review how to graph lines if we're given the equation. Again, this is a review concept from Algebra 1. So I'd like you to take a look at problem number 1 on page 29. And you can see the equation here. We have y equals 7/2 x minus 2. So I'm going to again refresh your memory on slope-intercept form of a line. We know is y equals mx plus b. And this equation I can see already is in that form. So I know that the y-intercept is -2 and the slope is 7/2, which means rising 7 and running 2. So I'm going to first go to the y-intercept. That's where we start our graph, and that's -2. Remember, y-intercept means where the graph is crossing on the y-axis, so the vertical axis. So I'm going to go on that axis to -2, and I'm going to put a point. That is the y-intercept. From that point, I'm now going to use my slope, which is +7/2, and I'm going to rise 7 and run 2. So rising 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and running +2 puts me right there, and that is another point that's on the line. So then from there, I'm just going to do my best to connect those 2 points. 2 points determine a line, so I can connect them. If I had more graph paper here, I could also go 7 down and 2 to the left to get another point. I'm going to go ahead and try and do that even though I'm off my grid a little bit. So down 1, 2, 3, about 4, 5, 6, 7 about here, and to the left 2 takes me to about there. And again, I eyeballed a little bit, but then I would take those 3 points and connect them, trying to make them as straight as possible. You could use a straight edge, and probably should. But there is our graph of y equals 7/2 x minus 2. Moving right along to problem number 3 on page 29, y equals -5. So if you recall, we did a horizontal line earlier, and again, that's what this is, 0x minus 5, which means the slope is 0. So I'm going to go to -5 on the y-axis, right there, and I know the slope is 0, which means that we just have a horizontal line. That is our line, y equals -5. Moving right along, page 29, problem number 6. This equation is x equals 5. Now, notice it's not in slope-intercept form. It says x equals. And if you recall, the last problem we looked at was y equals, and that was a horizontal line. When lines have the equation x equals and then a number, they're always going to be vertical lines. So what that means I'm going to do is I'm going to go to +5 on the x-axis, and I'm going to put a point. But really, any point, no matter what the y value is, any point that has an x value of 5 is part of this line. So it would be okay for me to put a point there, because this has +5 for x and a +1 for y. I could put another point here, because again, that has x value of 5. And now we're seeing that this is going to be a vertical line. And that is the graph of the line x equals 5. Remember, vertical lines have an undefined slope, but we can still graph the line. X equals 5 is a vertical line. Okay, next one. We're going to take a look at page 31, problem number 1. Now, as you can see, this equation is not in slope-intercept form. So before I can start plotting the points, I don't know what the y-intercept is, I don't know what the slope is, so I'm going to get this equation into slope-intercept form. So I'm going to get the y by itself, which means I'm going to subtract 7x from both sides, which gives me y equals -7x plus 5. And now I have my equation in slope-intercept form, and now I can identify that the slope is -7 and the y-intercept is +5. So I'm going to start at +5 on the y-axis and put a point. and then I'm going to rise and run. Now this is a whole number, so I'm going to rewrite -7 as -7 over 1, which helps me remember how to do the rise and the run. So from +5, I'm going to rise -7, which means I'm going to go down 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and +1, which means to the right 1, and there's my coordinate point. I could do that again. I'm going to go off the grid a little bit here. I'm going to go down 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and over 1, about right there. Now I'm going to try my best to connect those points using a straight edge or something straight, preferably. And there is my line, y equals -7x plus 5, or in the other form, which we call standard form, 7x plus y equals 5. Okay, now I've done several, and I'd like you to try a bunch more problems. So I'd like you next to try these problems, which will be practice on all of the concepts that we discussed today, which is finding the slope, plotting points, and graphing lines.